Rama Screen is now on audio. So download Rama Screen as a podcast on iTunes so you can listen to the reviews, interviews, discussions, and the weekly show Rocking It with Rama Screen anytime, anywhere. What up? This is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment, and here's my review of Netflix series One Day at a Time, Season 3. That's right, the new Season 3. And the embargo lifts this Wednesday, January 23rd. That's why I'm doing this review. And instead of, the jump cuts and the stitching up, the editings, all that stuff, I'm just gonna do this one take straight up for you guys. Because I'm a huge fan of this show. I got so many thoughts about it. I got my notes here on my screen. Hopefully, I don't forget any of them or lose my train of thoughts during this review. Um, First of all, this is my first video review of One Day at a Time. This reboot, right? This reimagining with the Cuban American family that started, I think, in 2017, I believe. So this is because this is my first time reviewing this show, I want to share with you a bit of the general thought first. In that, as you all know, this is based on the classic One Day at a Time series created or co-created by the great Norman Lear, right? And that was probably in the 70s, I believe. And I had not seen that version yet. But that version ran about 9 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully this one, with the Cuban American family, hopefully it lasts just as long because I think it has the potential to. It's okay. So I think this is fantastic. The creators of this reimagining of One Day at a Time, their names are Gloria Calderon Kellett and Mike Royce, and it's like, of course, it just makes sense for this kind of reboot to exist. Diverse, and it reflects our society today in 2018 America. So the story, as you all know, my fellow fans of the show, it's about this divorced lady or mother, single mother, played by Justina Machado. Her name, or the character's name, is Penelope Alvarez, and she has 2 children. One of them is Alex, the other is Elena. Elena is the oldest one, and Elena is an openly gay person, a lesbian, if you will. And she is very outspoken about LGBTQ issues, like social justice warrior. She's a social justice warrior, so she gets really sensitive about, if you are incorrect about certain pronouns or how you identify or call somebody. It's like she'll get easily triggered. And Alex, of course, is your normal teenage boy. And in the original series in the 70s, there was also a superintendent, and in this one, there's also a superintendent of the building, of the apartment, and the super is played by Todd Grinnell, whom I've interviewed before. I've interviewed Todd Grinnell for a different project, so check out my interview with Todd Grinnell here on Rama Screen YouTube channel. And he plays the character Schneider, and he is just the clueless guy, man, but his heart is in the right place. He longs to be part of this Cuban American family, partly because he grew up technically abandoned by his dad. Because he grew up affluenza, like really rich and privileged, but his dad was never around. His dad always cheated and remarried many times, had an affair with a lot of women, and so all these years, I guess he wanted to be not alone and be part of a family, and this is the family that he wanted to be part of. So he's a sweet, sweet fellow, Schneider is. And oh yeah, here's something you need to note. In this new season 3, the character Dr. Berkowitz, played by actor Steven Tobolowsky, one of the most famous character actors um, in the history of cinema and television. He's been around in this business for quite a while. And I've also interviewed Steven Tobolowsky, I think once, at the Carney Awards. So check out my video interview with Steven Tobolowsky, also here on Rama Screen YouTube channel. But anyway, his character, Dr. Berkowitz, is sort of like, in the season 3, is sort of like the series regular too, or is part of the series regular. Whereas in season 1 and season 2, he was more of a recurring character. In this new season 3, you see him a lot. you see him quite often, so much so that you could probably call him a series regular. So that's one of the things that you need to anticipate. If you're wondering, like, if you're watching this new season and like, why do I keep seeing Dr. Berkowitz in all these episodes? That's because the writers, pushing him to be part of, to be more prominent in the family's life, this Cuban American family's life. So, and also, thank you, by the way, to Netflix. Netflix has granted me the screeners of the entire 13 episodes of this new season 3. But of course, I will not be spilling some major spoilers. As a matter of fact, Netflix really emphasized in their email to me, like red bold letters, the wording is like red bold letters, and like, do not reveal plot details or spoilers about this specific da 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 da. This episode and that episode have these plot details. Don't share them in your review. So, so I'll do my best to avoid those da 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 da. Those parts that they want me to kind of redact, if you will. But yeah, general thought real quick before we get to season 3. This is fantastic. I just love this show. And here's the thing. The writings or the humor or the comedy in season 1, to be honest with you, they were not solid. They were not as strong as it could have been, or as they could have been. Season 2, the writing got a little bit better, and I love that premiere episode of season 2 when they were discussing about race and ethnics, about Latinx. It's like it's a conversation in one living room, but it's just so much going on in their dialogue, and I love that. In season 3, in this new season, I must say that the comedy or the humor is, it's funny, man. Like, I hardly could remember a moment where the jokes fall flat. So many of the jokes in this new season 3 actually hit the target, and that's a good thing. I think so. I want to share that with you. You can definitely anticipate that, or anticipate that, or expect that for this season, for this new season 3, to actually crack you up consistently. All right. Where in season 1, sometimes I would like, oh, the humor went above my head, or I would just chuckle like, ha 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 ha. But in this one, it's really funny. The writing got better, even better than season 2. All right, so let's get to some of the episodes here. Again, I will not spill the major spoilers about the maybe season finale or certain story arc involving certain characters that kind of permeates throughout the season. Okay, but I love the premiere episode of season 3, The Funeral. The title is The Funeral. So remember, my fellow One Day at a Time fans, at the end of season 2, Lydia, played by the great Rita Moreno from the West Side Story, the legendary Oscar winner Rita Moreno. At the end of season 2, she suffered a stroke. Do you remember that? Okay. And then she got healed. She got better. And so the first few episodes of season 3 kind of deal with the aftermath of that. Everybody's really cautious about her health, or how she walks. Like, oh my God, we please, Lydia, use a cane. Like, oh, like, don't dance too much anymore. It'll your stress level might go high. So everybody's like really touchy, or like really careful about, oh my God, we can't let her go stroke again. So that's what you can expect in the first few episodes of season 3. The premiere episode, the funeral, is obviously not about Lydia's funeral, but another some other tia, some auntie, if you will, in their family who passed on, and this results in Lydia meeting up with her sister. Do you remember in previous seasons? There's this. It was suggested that Lydia has a bad blood with her sister, like a long argument that they haven't. I'm sorry, not long argument. Like they haven't talked in years because of an argument that happened years ago, and so, um, and then you'll see why and how that plays out in this season. Because you know how, just like weddings, funerals bring people together, and so Lydia meets up with her estranged sister, and guess who plays that sister? Gloria Estefan. Oh, one of my favorites. One of my favorite. The Miami Sound Machine. Ah, the legendary Gloria Estefan. If I could reach higher, higher than anybody else. Ah, what a great Olympic song that was, man. 1996, Atlanta. That's how old I've been on this earth. So, of course, the audience goes wild, when she shows up on the screen. And it's interesting because of the many things that's interesting. But the most part that's interesting is she's she's originally, like, she's genuine Cuban, right? She's genuine Cuban. And the actors who play the Alvarez family, they're mostly Puerto Rican Americans. Jusina Machado, Rita Moreno. I think the guy who plays Alex, what's his name? I think he's also of Puerto Rican descent. I have to double check on that. Yes, he's also Puerto Rican descent. And Isabella Gomez, the one who plays Elena, I believe she is Colombian descent, so Colombian American. So none of them are Cubans. So to finally see, like, whoa, there's a genuine Cuban here playing. And I'm not gonna make a big fuss about that, right? We're not gonna make a big fuss, because that's what acting is. Actors sometimes they play other ethnics. In Everybody Loves Raymond, um, two of the family members are Jews, and they play Italian Americans. That's fine. In Hollywood, that's how it happens sometimes. But it's just interesting to see a story about a Cuban American, a story about a Cuban American family played by Puerto Rican Americans, finally, crossing path with a character played by genuine Cuban. So I'm not going to spill to you the details of what happens in this funeral episode, but it's just fantastic. There's some dancing involved. Of course, Elena also is trying to figure out if the other cousin that she has, like a long distance cousin, is she gay like me too? She wants to be like lesbian Jesus, kind of help her cousin come out of the closet. She feels, she's a social justice warrior, so she feels that responsibility. So it's a great premiere episode. I highly recommend you go watch it. So the next episode I want to talk about, I'm not going to talk about the details of each episode. I'm going to leave some of the surprises for you guys to find out for yourselves. There's episode 4 called Hermanos. This one introduces us to Penelope, or Lupita's brother. And juxtaposing that, is Elena and Alex arguing all the time. They argue, just like any siblings would, right? Like me and my little sisters when we were kids, we argue about the stupidest stuff too. So there's that, and then there's Lupita and her brother. Again, dealing with the aftermath of Lydia, uh, having a stroke in the previous season. So it's like, where were you? How come you weren't there in the hospital with us? So, um, and the setting is that they were on a vacation. But here's the thing. Um, what I love about this show is that, yes, it's funny. The humor, as I said earlier on, that this new season 3 has better, funnier humor. Um, but the life lessons in each episode also, it really, just like in the previous seasons, it's really deep, man. It really hits home. Um, and one day at a time, it doesn't shy away. The show doesn't shy away from conversations that could probably make some of us feel uncomfortable. Uh, Conversations about a strange family, conversations about race, about how we look at race, conversations about white privilege. Um, so, I mean, these topics and all, you probably, I haven't seen the original version in the 70s, but I'm guessing some of the topics brought up in this One Day at a Time reimagining probably would not have been able to be brought up in the original version or in any of the shows back 3 decades ago. Because back then it's taboo. You got to be you got to be all civil. TV can't go that provocative. But One Day at a Time is pretty brave in their approach, and it's still family oriented. All right, but it it tackles certain things that you probably would not expect it to. That's what I'm going to leave it at that without spilling any more spoilers. Um, there's also the episode where Alex. First, this is an example of the provocative that I mentioned to you. An episode of Alex getting caught smoking marijuana. As you know, I'm a big proponent of marijuana. I think it's a healthy lifestyle, and I'm glad it's legal now in California, the great state of California, my home state. Um, so the show also deals with that in a way. In that episode 5, "Nip It in the Bud," the show deals with that in a way that doesn't judge marijuana, but also judges Alex's irresponsible use of marijuana. So the writers really dance this delicate balance to make sure that they don't demonize marijuana, but at the same time they want to say, hey, if you want to do this, you gotta be responsible about it. All right, and you being 15, you're not ready to be responsible for that. So I think that's a really, really cool way to go address that issue, I think, in my opinion. There's also episode 7 that deals with sex. Elena and her girlfriend, experimenting or at least entertaining the idea of intercourse. Again, another topic that probably other shows would kind of squeamish, they would be kind of squeamish or like, should we do that, or can we just dance around it somehow, or walk on eggshells about it? No, but One Day at a time is like, hey, just like Lupita, the mother, would have a heart-to-heart talk with her children. It's like, hey, I know this is not comfortable for you and me, but we gotta have this talk. So just like that, the show is telling you, hey, this may not be comfortable to you, but we got to have this discussion. All right, this is the world that we're in right now, the society, 2018. So we got to address this issue, and I think that's fantastic. That's very admirable of the showrunners and the writers of this show for them to do that. Very admirable, in my opinion. Uh, there's episode tackling anxiety also, and there's also an episode that tackles. You know, here's the thing: Lupita meets. I want to say Lupita. Let's call her Penelope. Lupita is a nickname. Penelope, as you know, in the previous seasons, has had challenges when it comes to relationships, right? Ever since she divorced from her husband, um, she's dated men before, other men, and many of them are good guys, right? Especially in season 2 with Max. But now you know in season 3 why she had not been able to commit all this time to those men that she has dated, including Max. Part of the reason is, and this is not really a spoiler, so don't worry about it, is that there's this sense or insecurity that Penelope has because she sees her mom so much adores her late husband, right? The mom, Lydia, cannot stop talking about Berto. You know, it's like how sexy he was, how charming, how manly. So Berto, or Lydia's late husband, set the bar really high, and it seems that Penelope has been chasing for an image to meet that standard. You see where I'm getting at? And this also fits with the psychology. I remember reading somewhere that, and you can probably dispute this if you disagree, but the psychology says, uh, of human nature, if you will, or human behavior, that men in finding a partner, a life partner, or a spouse, they would try to find their mother, or a woman that kind of reflects the mother that raised him. Whereas the woman, would try to find her dad in her spouse. Of course, that also depends on their upbringing, how present, whether or not the parents are present in their lives. But that's usually the case. Men would try to find mothers in their spouse. Women would try to find dads in their spouse. And that seems to be like the psychology that the writers also of this show trying to apply onto the story arc for Penelope. Um, and that does set her back a little bit, because she has met all these lovely men along the way, but she keeps comparing them to her dad, her late dad, her mom's husband. And it's like, because he set the bar really high. And one of the good guys, one of the good, decent guys, or as you say, the decent guy that she is dating in this season 3, his name is Matthew or Mateo. And he's played by that guy who plays the cop in Fresh Off the Boat. But again, he's a fantastic guy. He's like, he's a good listener. He's also a dad, I believe. And he's charming, and he's funny, and he's approachable. But there's always like, oh, for Penelope, it's like, oh, but you're not my dad, uh, so I'm gonna leave that at that. I won't go full more about some of the other episodes that I haven't covered. Again, I won't spill the spoilers that they told me on Red Bolt, written like bolded statement in the emails, like, don't spoil these, don't spoil season finale. But let me conclude by saying this, that this is a great season, a great new season 3 of One Day at a Time. I think if you are fans of this show, if you loved season 1 and season 2, you will be over the moon about season 3. It not only does it crack you up, there's a lot of funny stuff going on in this season, but many of the deep, profound themes that it tackles, it really hits home. You can relate to it, one way or another. You can relate to it, or you can relate. It's like, oh, that reminds me of my cousin, or that reminds me of my friend. Even if it doesn't really hit you directly, it'll be like, oh, that's the effect that One Day at a Time has on you. And Schneider, of course, oh, Schneider, such a sweet guy. If all else fails, all right, if all else fails, and if you don't buy much of the humor from the other characters, or if you're not head over if you're not head over heels about many of the life lessons or the wisdom that each of the episode conveys, if all else fails, man, Schneider will not fail. Schneider will put a smile on your face. He has this childlike, Schneider, childlike curiosity, childlike wonder, childlike attitude. And I think I think if you are a trust fund baby like Schneider, you probably be happy too when you're not headache about or stressing out about trying to make money. So thank you, Netflix, for granting me the screeners of the entire 13 episodes of this new season 3 of One Day at a Time. For those of you guys out there, One Day at a Time season 3 will premiere or will launch globally on Netflix Friday, February 8th. That's Friday, February 8th. So circle it on your calendar, set your alarm clock ready, mark it, and go binge watch One Day at a Time, season 3. Dale, season 3, dale. Dale, season 3, dale. By the way, subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell, and if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.